Okay, hello, I'm live. All right, so welcome to the video. My name is Jessica Hicks. I am a corporate recruiter, and today I'm having another live chat. Last week I had a live session to basically answer different questions that are normally heard from job seekers, and today I'm going to have a quick chat about resumes in particular. So hopefully, at the end of this session, you'll be able to understand some of the common mistakes that people make. This is really good for someone that might be creating their first resume or someone that is just kind of restarting their resume and just looking for some tips as they really just recreate their resume and make it stand out. So I will be talking about some of the common mistakes, and also if there are questions that I get, I'll answer those questions. It can be about the resume or it can be just job related in general. I mean, this is a pretty informal conversation, so we can just kind of chit chat towards the end. So I am going to get started with the first common mistake that job seekers sometimes have with resumes. And I've actually been here with this one. When I first had my resume, it was pretty bad, but that was some years ago. So I'll put this in the chat so I can share it up on the screen. Now, this first one is just spelling and grammar errors. This is a big no-no, and it may seem like, common sense, you wouldn't want to have spelling and grammar errors on your resume, but it happens a lot more than you would think, especially when someone is applying to so many jobs and they're using the same resume. Maybe they put their resume together really quickly without having someone review it first, or maybe they've used all of these different sites out there that can actually generate a resume for you. Well, be careful with using those, resume generators, because when you're solely relying on a computer, you can open up issues with, spelling and grammar mistakes because they're not human. So they may not know that you were trying to say something completely different, and, they'll put a different word in there for you. So let's say I'm trying to say, I have a lot of experience with recruiting, but they want to put in a different word in there and completely throw it off for me. So make sure that you're also taking a look at your resume, reviewing it, and having someone else review it too, because I know I catch things. I still have people in the office. I'll have someone look at a email for me if it's going out to multiple people, just to have that other person take a look at it. And oftentimes someone else will catch like a little error that you might not have seen. So just be careful with that and make sure that you are taking the time to really review your resume. Hello, Sheldon. Welcome. Oh, good night. Okay. Late where you were. Thanks for stopping in. So that is really it with the spelling and grammar errors. And when I say this, there are some hiring managers that will just literally throw out a resume because it has one or two errors on it. So definitely be careful with that, especially if you're applying to certain companies. If you're applying to, say, a public relations or journalism specific niche, like a media company, these are going to be the folks that are really going to pay attention to your resume even more so. So you definitely want to make sure you don't have any, not even one, spelling and grammar error. And I'm telling you from experience, I have literally seen a person get canceled out from the process, and it happened to be with a public relations company because they had misspelled the company name. They actually had a cover letter. So I'll get to that later, but you just want to make sure that you're not giving any reason at the beginning for someone to throw out your application, essentially. All right, so that was number one. And again, that one may seem obvious, but it happens, so just be careful. All right, so this actually happens too, and it should be pretty straightforward, but sometimes it's not. And it's Missing contact information. And I'm gonna greet some folks in the chat. Hello, Jazzy TV. Welcome. Hi, Rice and Beans. How's your Sunday going? Nice to see you guys here. So, missing contact information. And again, it's kind of like, well, duh, of course you're gonna include your contact information. Well, here are the things that sometimes go wrong. Either the contact information is completely missing. So someone has, maybe just their name and they don't have an email or they don't have a phone number. And it's like, okay, well, how am I going to reach out to you to even get the job? So they're putting out this resume and they don't know why they're not being contacted. Well, maybe it's because you left off your contact information. The other part of that is I have run into this where a candidate has submitted their contact information and it's different. So this happens a lot when you might change phone numbers, or even worse, maybe you haven't paid that phone bill and then your phone is off and you had to get another phone, and now that original resume you haven't updated still has that old number on it. So just make sure that you have the right contact information. This is also very true for email. And for me, I have to be very careful with my email because it's my name, but I also include a middle initial with my email. So if I leave off one letter, they're not gonna be able to reach out to me if someone's looking at my resume. Let's see. Hi, Jazzy. So you've done that before. Okay. Had my email and no phone number. Yes. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because some people prefer to call candidates. Others will prefer to email them first. For me as a recruiter, I typically will email someone first because I feel like, one, a lot of the positions that I'm recruiting for are at different locations. So I don't want someone to think I'm a spam caller. So I always email first if I can. But if there's no email, then I'll proceed to calling the person with the number I have. And I have had multiple instances where I call up the person and it's someone totally different. Or I've had with me and how I manage my recruiting schedule, candidates can actually schedule right onto my calendar. And so they are providing the actual number that I use to reach out to them. And so in that case, I've had a couple people just mistype the number, or they've added numbers to it. And so it's, it kind of takes away from that first phone interview. So yes, definitely have the right contact information. Something else that goes along with that I'll put up here is tied into the email, and I see this more than I would like to. And it is this: having an unprofessional email address. So sometimes it's just like, it's either on the spectrum. Either it's just way out there, like bigbootyjudy@yahoo.com, or it's just like, hey, Mr. What's Up @gmail.com. And when I was younger in high school, I had my email was like look2jess@yahoo.com. And I mean, it was not professional at all. But, once you start applying to different roles, you're gonna see that recruiters will pay attention to your email address. So you definitely want to have a professional email address on your resume, something that, ideally you would have just your name, your first and last name. But if that's been taken, you can always add numbers to the end of your name or add in hyphens and things like that. But you definitely should have a professional email address, especially when you're moving into, different corporate positions, even if it's a coordinator or administrative type of role. High school is probably fine. College, you can probably get away with it, but after that, you got to get a new email. It just takes away from everything else that you're putting on your resume that shows you have these great qualification and this great, education background. If you got something like, hot girl 147, it really takes away from that. So Just a quick note about that. And I'm going to show you up on the screen, Jazzy TV, for a second while I get my next point here. And this is probably another big one. I mean, I see this often as well. And this one is just having outdated information or just unimportant information. I see this a ton. And really, it's not even a specific group of people. Recently, I have been reviewing resumes with my company for, oh, that's my bottle of water. Oh, well, I'll get that later. But I've been reviewing resumes for recent grads and then high school, college students. And a lot of times there will be so much information they're trying to fit into one page. And then when you really dig into it, the information really isn't important. And I think another point is when you're kind of moving away from college and you're moving to getting more and more experience. Sometimes people are wanting to keep all of this experience they had. So the fact that you were a cashier at Macy's, or I don't know, an associate at Macy's may be a better way to say it, in high school, well, leaving that on your resume when you're applying to, I don't know, a PeopleSoft developer job or a sales job, 10 years later, just remember to take some of that stuff off. If you're seeing on your resume that some of the information is just old and irrelevant, you need to remove it, just scratch it, and put more of the more recent experience that you have had. The other point of that too is you want to keep your resume, pretty short and, straight to the point, very concise. As a recruiter, I am not reading pages and pages and pages of a resume. Once it gets past 2 pages, most recruiters are like, I'm not reading it. We're literally taking a few seconds to look at the resume and decide if we want to speak to you further about the role or we're deeming you not a match for the role, just on paper, because maybe we have 100 other people that have applied that we need to get to. So that's kind of the mentality on our end, and why you want to really keep things, really concise and point out your more relevant experience, your most recent experience, ideally, on your resume. And anything outside of that that's really not important to the job, you need to take it out. You can always bring up something in your conversation once you've talked to the hiring team. But for that resume, just remember it is your branding. It's like an advertisement of you. So whatever you want to advertise about yourself, you have this 1 or 2 pager that is supposed to capture me and make me want to talk to you. So if you think about an ad, they're not including random information to the ad. They have a few seconds to get our attention, to make us want to buy a car, a new perfume, or whatever. So just think of it that way. All right, I'm going to take a quick second to look at the chats. I've called someone for an interview and their ex answered the phone. Yes. So that goes to the point about making sure that information is updated. A lot of times it's like, you have all these changes, you get new cell phones and things, and people don't really think, oh, I need to update my resume. So that is a good point. Very good comment, Jazzy TV. So yes, definitely update your information, because if you're applying to jobs and you're finding you're not getting a call back, it may just be that we don't know how to contact you. That may be it. All right, so before I move on to this next one, I saw another question come through in the chat, and yes, Jazzy, they definitely needed to update the information in that case. Edward Smart, hello, welcome, happy to see you. Glad you could join. Kiki Karima, welcome. First time seeing you. Welcome to our chit chat here. Do you use a template? So I've talked about templates a few times. I don't love resume templates, but if you have a really well-designed template, I say you can definitely use it. However, just be sure that you are also reviewing that resume, making sure that if it's a template with already existing wording in there, you're removing all of that wording and putting in your own. And this is something that happened to me, was it 2 months ago? I can't remember, but a girl had applied to a job. I ended up calling her because her resume, you could tell it was a template because it had very generic language. So you could look at the bullet points under her job and it would say, insert relevant information here, something along those terms. And so I ended up calling her because it was all throughout her resume. I was like, this girl doesn't know. This girl does not know. She cannot know that she's putting out this resume. And when I called her, she didn't realize it. So she was able to update her resume and resubmit it. She ended up not being a match, but just think of the number of jobs that you apply to using the same resume. So short answer to that is I don't recommend using the templates. But if you can find a good one and you're very careful of reviewing it and making sure that there is no standard jargon in there, then you're probably all right. Very good question, Kiki. I'm glad you could join. Welcome. All right, some folks in the chat are saying hello. Hello, Paolindo. Welcome. I'm so glad to see you here. Hi, Easy. Hello, and thank you. And Jazzy TV is saying hello to everybody. All right, and thank you, Jazzy TV. Yes, please don't forget to like the video. That really helps, the traction via YouTube. They will share the video out more. So the wordsmith, while you called her to tell her to resubmit, that's nice of you. Well, yeah, I mean, in a case like that, I was pretty certain that she did not realize. Now, I had a little more time on my hands. Every recruiter, please know, every recruiter is not going to do that. They will not. So that's why I'm saying to be very, very careful about your resume. But thank you. Yes, I mean, we got to help each other. It's tough times right now. And I just didn't want her to use that same resume, not really thinking about it, because most likely, I think she had someone help her with it or something. And it's like, she probably trusting that she has the resume she needs and she's submitting it. So, all right. So this next one is something that is probably less common, but it's basically not adding specifics into your resume. So there's a lot of times where recruiters, we will see resumes that are just very generic. Like, I have, I don't know, as an accountant, I did X, Y, and Z. So more about all the tasks that you did versus really showing the results. So maybe how you have been able to generate cost savings if you're an accountant. For me as a recruiter, I'm going to talk about the number of positions that I've been able to fill for a company, or giving specifics about the type of positions that I've actually worked to fill for, company or whatever. Or if I'm in sales, I'm giving specific numbers. Like I was able to increase sales by 25% using XYZ methodology. So really using those specifics, showing that you have actually not only completed tasks, but you've been able to provide real results for your company. That's really important. And if you have maybe an entrepreneurial background, showcase that in your resume as well, and show and quantify your results versus using more generic, generic language in your resume. Let me know if that makes sense, because this is something that I see more commonly. I see a lot of resumes that are just kind of like, I did this, I did that, I did this too. And so it's like, okay, how do you stand out from this other person over here that also did that. Well, that's a great way to stand out. Nothing 100% wrong with saying, you completed tasks, but you should be including at least some quantifiable results throughout your resume. Okay, give me put a 1 or put a 1 in the comments just so I know that everyone kind of understands that. If you have questions about that one, let me know before I move on to the next point. And I see folks are saying hello to each other. Good. I hope everyone is having a good Sunday. All right, so I'm going to move on to my next one if I don't see anything in the comments. All right, so this one I actually pulled from online, and it looks like everyone gets it. Jazzy, Edward, good. Okay, perfect. Okay, so this next one, I kept this one because I think it really speaks to highly technical jobs. And so it's avoiding using buzzwords or just words that are not going to be known generally to people. So I think this comes through a lot with our marketing folks, a lot with our technical folks. And I think it's really good to use skills, but using specific buzzwords that not every single person is going to know. I think that's harder for you because a recruiter, most likely, so me, I'm not in your field of work. I'm going to be looking at your resume first. And sometimes it's maybe one of our interns on the team that maybe doesn't have as much experience, but they're shown what words to look for. They're screening. So you don't want to use too many buzzwords that we may not know. So for example, for me, as a recruiter, a big buzzword of ours that other people may not know is saying ATS. Like, people may not know what ATS means. I'm gonna put it in the chat. But ATS just means applicant tracking system. So I may use ATS, but in parentheses, I will spell out exactly what I'm saying. So that way, if the person doesn't know what an ATS is, but they understand, oh, applicant tracking system, they'll be able to go, oh yeah, okay, that's what I'm looking for. So being able to I think this goes back to looking at a job description and making sure that you're using the same type of terminology. So there's so many different ways that you can say, let's see, like public, I was talking about public relations earlier. So public relations, marketing, journalism, communications. There's a couple of different words you could say. You could say PR for short, but if you're looking at the job description and they're saying communications over public relations and your resume has public relations, you're going to want to shift your terminology to more communications focused. Or if you're seeing buzzwords in the job description, you're going to want to use that language versus what you already have. And it's not copying the job description, but it's just making sure that you're seeing what they're using and most likely what they're going to be looking for, and also what that system, the applicant tracking system where your resume is going into, that machine essentially is going to be able to know that you're a match. Because a lot of times now we also have these systems that will bring up the the most relevant resumes so that we can look at them first. And so you definitely want to be brought up, because in the case that we're in right now where we're getting tons of resumes, a lot of times we're not going to be able to individually look at every single person. So these systems help to show, okay, these are the folks that are more relevant. These are the folks that are not qualified. You're not even looking at those folks. So my best advice is to just make sure that you are customizing your resume just a bit. I know it takes a little time, but that's your best chance, because again, we're thinking about this as an advertisement. So you're advertising yourself to that particular company. And the best thing that you have to help with that advertisement is that job description. So hope that makes sense. Let's see. Paolindo, what is that? A toy spectacular. Yes, an ATS is an applicant tracking system. But yes, that is something that I wouldn't just put on my resume. I would definitely put something in parentheses to show exactly what I'm talking about. Oh, how lindo. You are funny. So glad you're able to join. Edward Smart says he needs to update his resume. Well, I hope these tips will help you, Edward. I also have some videos that are pretty short that can help as well. And let me go back up here. Used to work for a college call center in the funds department, but I want to get a call center job at home now. So what should I write in my summary? So, okay, this is a tough one sometimes. I think I would probably need a little more information from you, but it seems like you would have a lot of relevant skills. So you're basically going from working at your college call center to, you know, a work from home type of call center type of job. I actually just posted a video where there's a company, I want to say it was Concentrix, but definitely go back to the video where I talk about the jobs hiring right now. But they've been hiring a lot of type of like phone representative type of roles. You would be a match for a lot of different phone roles. So I think with the summary, I personally don't recommend having a summary. I know in academia, they love to say you have to have a summary, you have to have an objective, you have to have this paragraph that tells why you're a great match for the role. We don't like to read. Recruiters, like just people in general, we know people do not like to read. Come on. Now, I like to read for fun, but we don't necessarily want to read when we're like working. We don't want to have to spend time reading something. We're trying to get to the point and figure out what we need to do. So when I'm looking at a resume, if there's a summary section, I gloss over that. I'm trying to get to the meat of the resume. And I'm vegan, I don't eat meat, but you know, I'm talking about the medium or the bulk of your resume. Where's the information that I need? Well, the information I need a lot of times is what's your education? Okay, you got a high school diploma, you got a college degree, whatever the qualification is for that, check. Okay, what skills do you have? You need to have, 3 years of accounting experience. You need to be able to have worked with, SAP. Okay, SAP, couple years of accounting work, relevant. Okay, great. You're someone that I'm going to either share with the hiring manager or I'm going to have a phone conversation with you. That's what I'm looking for. That's what we're looking for in the corporate space. Now, when you move to academia and when you move to government jobs, it gets a little trickier. They want to see a little bit more, but even then, the bulk of it is going to be the main part of your resume. So I would say do not spend too much time in your summary. I would say, if at anything, just talk about the fact that you're transitioning into whatever company you're looking to apply to, or just highlight you have X amount of years of experience with working within a college call center doing X, Y, and Z. Quick, because again, we're not going to look at that. I'm just telling you now, we're not paying that much attention to it. And Everett Smart probably understands that one. Okay, I think, let's see. I missed a couple of comments in here. So I'm going to address these and then I'll kind of move on to some of the other points I wanted to make about resumes. Oh, you're welcome, Powerlindo. You're so welcome. Okay, Jasmine, welcome, Jasmine. Glad you could join the conversation. Can I get a job in HR as a recruiter if I have a degree in communication? Do I need to take more classes at a community college? Okay. Honestly, I do not feel like recruiters need a specific degree. However, a lot of companies will ask for just a degree. And I think a degree in communication is actually very good because that's what you're going to be doing in your role. You're going to be, you're going to be writing, you're going to be speaking, you're going to be communicating with HR managers, hiring managers, candidates. I think your degree is fine. I think what will be a big point for you, and I don't know what type of background you have, Jasmine, but you'll definitely want to highlight specific skills that you have within researching. There's different tools that recruiters will use, like different applicant tracking systems that we typically will look for. Really any type of exposure to either sales or HR will probably be a good amount of information to put into your resume. And I would say if you don't have any HR or recruiting experience, probably the easiest way to move into recruiting and HR is to look at staffing agencies, because typically the skills that they're looking for are a little they're more general. They're not going to be like, oh, you need to have 5 years of recruiting experience already. Whereas a company like, I don't know, General Motors would probably ask for more of that experience. The other thing is with agencies, they have a lot of specific training that they can do to help you. Also, there's tons of contract opportunities. I'm getting a spam call. There's plenty of contract opportunities for recruiters as well. So happy to kind of share more with you, Jasmine. Please reach out to me on LinkedIn. I have the same name as I do out here. I'm also on Instagram at Jobs for Jess. All right. So, oh yes, Jasmine, definitely check out the channel more for sure. I have plenty of content on here. Definitely like the video as well. Real brother, welcome. So everyone's talking. Thank you, real brother. I appreciate that. Love it. Thank you. And thank you for sharing the resume writing services. I do provide resume writing services. All right. So I'm going to move on to my next one here. And I talked about this, I think, a little bit. So it's this one, just being too general and not customizing your resume to the job description. And the main thing I just want to point out here, I know we had some newer folks come to the chat, is just to make sure whatever you're seeing in that job description, every job description is going to look different, even if it's the same job. So you could be applying to a recruiter job and there's different skills that they're going to be looking for. Maybe they want you to have experience with recruiting tech talent, or maybe they want you to have experience with a specific applicant tracking system. One is called Taleo or Workday, or all these different HR systems. Well, whatever your role is, typically you are going to have those specifics. So when you have that experience, sometimes it's not always going to be on your resume. So you want to, at that point, say, oh, I've used that system before. I don't have it on my resume right now, so I'm going to add it. And what I do typically for resumes is I'll have a skills section for you. So that way it can easily be where you can just take out one skill and put in another whenever you need to. So that's a way you can customize. Also, using bullet points. Don't use paragraphs. I know, again, like academia, I feel like they are very much into the writing of paragraphs and putting paragraphs all over your resume and having these 3-page resumes. And it's like, no, we just want quick bullets. So quick bullets. So I'm going to put this in here. You guys can hear me typing, I'm sure. So this is a big one. I'm going to take a sip of water real quick. So definitely avoid using paragraphs whenever you can. When you're describing your experience, just use quick bullet points, and you want to use the most bullet points in your most recent experience. You don't want to have like a job you had 5 years ago that's really not relevant to what you're applying to now and have like 6 bullet points under that job where you have only 3 in your most recent experience. I actually talked to a girl, this was 2 weeks ago, and she was doing this. She had plenty of like highlights from her jobs that she had from like way back. And I'm like, no, we don't care about that. Obviously, I didn't tell it to her like that, but essentially, that's not what we're looking for. What we're looking for is what have you been doing more recently? And I think this is really important too for folks that maybe have taken a gap. I know a lot of ladies have been leaving the workforce lately to take care of, got kids at home and all of that. Or they've just been struggling with the balance, or unfortunately layoffs happening. But with these different gap experience you have, you want to highlight anything that you've been doing recently. So the first question that I have as a recruiter when I'm presenting a candidate to a hiring manager is, if they have any type of gap, or if they're asking about the experience, they want to know, what have you been doing in the past, like 3 years? That's what the most crucial thing will be, because that's going to be most relevant. And then it shows, obviously, if you've done it recently, you're going to be the most experienced in that. Something I did 5 years ago, I'm not going to recall as much. So let me know if that makes sense in the chat. Give me put a 1 in the chat if that is all good and you're ready for the next point. And while you're doing that, I'm going to pull the next point up. All right, let's see. Kiki is all good. All right, Kiki. Paolindo. Paolindo always makes me laugh. I hope you guys are laughing in the chat along with Paolindo. Booyaka, booyaka. Oh, man. And Jazzy agrees. Bullets help. Yes. And honestly, I'll go back to this about the bullets. When you're interviewing for a job and you have your resume with you, what's going to be easiest for you to kind of look at your resume and kind of recollect something? Is it going to be you reading through a paragraph, or is it going to be you seeing a bullet of, oh yeah, I did that, so when they ask me this question, I can talk about this thing? It's just way easier. So please, no paragraphs, please. No paragraphs. Okay. Paolindo is laughing. Okay, cool. So, okay, awesome, Kiki. I'll look out for your invite on LinkedIn. All right, so we're going to move on to this one. And this one, I don't think many people think of, but it's strange, actually. So sometimes we will have a resume that is just so beautifully designed, and there's just so much like going on. They've got like charts and graphs to show their experience, and it's overly creative, but they're applying to a bookkeeping or accounting job. Like, it's something that's very straightforward where we don't need it. Now, more elaborate designs are going to be great for your creative jobs. Like if you have a front end developer type of job, or if you're applying for a job as a graphic designer, then yeah, you definitely want to have something that shows off your creative skill. But at the same time, you don't want your resume to kind of start to feel clustered. Like you have your experience, you got this graph over here, you got some little tiny image over here, and then you got your name up here, and then all of this stuff where we're kind of like, what do I need to look at first? So, that can be an issue when you have someone looking at your resume, but then it also can play an issue with, I go back to the applicant tracking system again, because we have these machines that are helping us as recruiters do our job. And so sometimes what happens when you have these really elaborate resumes is sometimes it doesn't really transfer over correctly. And so depending on the type of company and what system they're using, I think the higher performing systems are fine. But let's be honest, there are some companies where they don't want to pay extra for these systems. So their system may not be as good as detecting what's on your resume. And so sometimes what happens is some of that stuff will be taken out. I've seen some people's name be completely taken off their application. so they actually use their resume to apply for a job, it just makes it a little harder for the system to understand what you're saying. I've even seen like contact information left off. And so thinking about, again, for the recruiter, you're trying to make it easier for them, because ideally you want them to quickly want to say, yes, this is a yes, I want to talk to this person. Well, if there's some missing information, or if this applicant tracking system has turned your resume into a bunch of characters, and this has happened because you just had this elaborate design and had so much going on, the computer was just like, we don't know what to do. We don't know what it is. We're just going to turn this into some, computer mumbo jumbo, and here you go. Well, is that recruiter going to take the time to either, one, look at your application, like go back in the system, just look through your application and kind of understand what your experience is? Or are they going to give you a call and say, hey, your resume, I couldn't read it, can you send me a new one? Not every recruiter is going to do that. Again, especially when we've got like 100, maybe 200 other applicants that we can go to. In most cases, the recruiter is going to be like, okay, I'm going to come back to that person. Or there's going to be like, no, no. And it stinks. It does stink, but I'm here to tell you, make sure that you have a well-designed resume without getting just overly fancy. Again, especially if you have like a simple, straightforward job like recruiter, HR, accounting, marketing. I mean, you can be a little creative, but you really don't have to. I think as long as your header is nicely designed and has a nice standout, that's good. And then also the other thing to keep in mind is if you are submitting a resume with a lot of design, you're probably going to want to turn it into a PDF over a Word document. Typically, depending on the system, for stuff with like all this different design, the PDF seems to work like a little better. Paolindo. Thank you. Yes, we appreciate you. Okay, so you guys are having a little chat. Love it. Okay, so I am going to move on to this next one, and I'm actually just going to type it in the chat. Because I want to make sure everyone got this point, because I know some people joined recently. So with the length of a resume, typically the rule is no more than 2 pages. Now, I want to dig into that a little bit more, because let's say you're a recent college grad. You don't need 2 pages. You need a page. You do not need 2 pages. 2 pages is more so for someone that maybe has 10 years of experience or more. Maybe someone that has shifted from the military, because I know they have a lot of different wording they need to use. And so you can kind of get away with 2 pages more so. But as a general rule of thumb, the quicker we can get through your resume and get to the highlights of, everything that you offer and how you're a match for the role, the better. So those are pretty much most of my tips here. Let me see. I think I might have missed one. Let me see. Did I want to talk about that? I think I covered that other one. So those are pretty much the highlights, as far as resumes. I think something else that comes up often is folks missing skills. Like there are times when I will talk to someone and they have certain skills that they didn't even add to their resume. And I'm like, why? And I actually have told people to go back and add in different skills, because I know that the hiring manager will be interested in that, and they'll be more interested in talking about the person more if we see that on their resume. What else do I see? With education, okay, so here's a big one, and it wasn't originally on my list, but I just thought of it. Not being 100% honest on your resume. If you don't have the bachelor's degree or or a certain certification and you're in the middle of it, note that on your resume. Don't just say that you have this degree and you completed it, 2020, when you know that you didn't. Make sure that you're noting that, like a degree is in progress. Because I have seen people get into sticky situations where they've gotten the phone call, but then they end up, not being a match for the role because you have to have had this degree and you don't. So just be careful with that. I've even had situations where I've seen someone go through, getting the job, go through background checking and drug screens, only to come to, well, actually, I did need this one last credit, and I need this one last credit, and so I don't technically have the degree, and then it just causes a lot of like trust issues on the employer. And I want to say every case I've seen it outside of one time, the company rescinded the offer. So if you are in progress, just make sure that stuff is known up front. It will save you a lot of issues down the line. All right, so those are the things I wanted to talk about as far as the resume. And so let me see what comments I have missed. So the first one I'm seeing is from Kiki. Where do you list the languages that you speak? Yeah, that's a good one. So I do speak Spanish. So I included Spanish under my education because I had a Spanish degree. You can definitely have a section that says languages if you are like multilingual. I think if you are like bilingual or something and you want to put an objective that's like one sentence, you can put in there, bilingual in, Spanish or French or whatever. I would say more so I would add it if I know that it might, stand out. I think it can in a lot of companies, especially when you start applying to global companies. They may not have that in the position description always, but sometimes that can be a big, standout. So I would definitely include it. But I think that is a case where you can put an objective statement. Or again, if you speak multiple languages now, you can put in languages section, or you can just put it under your skills. So I say every resume should have a skills section, and that's where you can put in, Spanish. But again, for me, since I, have a degree in Spanish, I just include it with my degree. So I'm like, I know where the recruiter is going to look. I'm like, they're going to look at education. They're going to look at, my work experience. They'll kind of gloss over the skills. And if they see something that stands out, they'll go like, oh, okay, great. You definitely want to have your skills within the skill section, but you also want to highlight your skills throughout your resume. So with those bullet points, you're adding in skills where they match, like where it makes sense. Does that make sense? Let's see. Yo hablo un poco español también, pero yo soy italiano. Oh, okay, Italians. Okay, we'll get to the chit chat now, and I'll let people ask questions as they wish. So Paolo Lindo, I have traveled to Italy. I love Florence, but I cannot understand Italians. I could not understand Italians very much. I could get little bits and pieces and words. It's Italians and even people that speak Portuguese. No. Pero sí, hablo un poquito español ahora. But yeah, I don't know. I don't understand. Like Italians can understand Spanish, but it was a big struggle for me. I'm laughing at some of these comments from Paolo Lindo. I cannot. Oh, hello, Howie Cooking Time. Welcome to the chat. I have just walked through the resume tips. So if you know someone that's looking for a job or you are looking for a job, definitely check out the replay. Lately, my replays have taken like 24 hours to be posted because I went live yesterday and I did a little story time about my layoff experience. And so it took overnight for it to be posted. I'm like, what? what is going on? It was like an hour-long video. Let's see. It was a party. Max was trying to one-up Kyle. I don't know what Jazzy TV was talking about. Okay, Jazzy. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Okay. I think you might be talking about a show. Let's see. Oh yeah, okay. You guys are talking about living single. Okay. It's so funny because I'm going backwards on the comments, so I'm trying to figure out what you guys were saying. Yes, and Jazzy was agreeing about the bullets. Paulindo is teaching everybody Spanish. Let's see. Oh, okay. I missed this question earlier. Do you know of any credible translation jobs from Spanish to English or English to Spanish? You know what? I did know of one and I can't think of it. I might have to do some research. I only knew about one. I think more well, let me think. You can definitely find bilingual speaking opportunities. I will probably have a video upcoming soon. I post companies hiring every week. But I want to say I did see a couple that said bilingual, but I don't know if it was bilingual in Spanish. So I can do some research for you, Jasmine, and look into some, and then I can share them with you. I know they're out there. So I know that we used at a former company, we were translating a video. It was about diversity and inclusion, and we used like a freelancer though, and I don't know where we found them. So you might, Jasmine, your best bet as of right now, before I kind of get into the research, is to probably look into Fiverr or Upwork. Let me put them in the chat here. Or Fiverr, because these are two freelance companies that it's really easy to find work. And I would think that small companies and large companies, this was a large retail company, may, be looking for freelancers. A lot of companies are turning to freelance work for if it's something just very temporary. And thank you, Real Brother. I'm going to put your comment up. Thank you. I am happy to share information that I have gained with others to help. And Jasmine was sharing. Okay, I think I covered. I'm looking at Paulina's comment. Oh man. The wordsmith, I hope I was able to help you out as well with your call center question. Let me know if you have other questions about your resume. I think I covered the summary question. Okay, I think I covered everything. All right. Okay, so Paulina, I'm just seeing your comments because I was up at the very top of the comments. So, so you've been to Florence too. My ex was there. Oh, she had studied to the NYC and Florida. Oh, okay, NYU. Gotcha. Even in New York. Oh, awesome. Yeah, I miss New York a lot, guys. So I do. I miss New York. My mom actually, I'll tell you guys, we're friends. My mom called it as soon as I got to Dallas. I've been here for maybe a week, and she talked to me and she was like, "Oh, so are you going back to New York?" And I was like, "No, I've only been here a week. What are you talking about? I'm gonna like Dallas." And she's like, "Uh-huh, yeah." I'm like, "Okay, mom." No, I'm gonna like Dallas. I kept telling her and myself that. And I'm slowly realizing that, coming from New York and coming to Dallas is just a really big shift. It really is, guys. Just things are just way slower in Dallas. It's just chill, which I thought I would love because my personality is typically I'm pretty calm, I'm pretty chill. I like, take my time. But I miss New York because of the energy. So Let's see if you drink. Paolindo, you are so funny. Yes, Harlem is the best. Harlem is awesome, Paolindo. They have the best food. If you guys haven't been in New York, or I know some folks are in the chat are living in New York. I'm a little jealous because of the food. I miss the food. Texas food is, there's just a lot of Tex-Mex. I have not found a really good seafood place, of course, because we're in the desert, not on a coast, technically. And then I've been looking for vegan restaurants and I can't really find too many good ones. I thought I had a really good vegan restaurant here, and last time I had it, it wasn't super fresh. So, womp womp. Paolindo lived in Washington Heights. I've been to Washington Heights. Yes. Very close to Harlem. And if you drink, oh gosh, Paolindo's talking about drinking. I do not drink hard liquor. No way. No way. That would knock me out probably. Exactly. Too much for me. I can barely drink like a glass or two of wine. I am a lightweight. So like whenever I would go to happy hours and stuff, and like even like especially work events, like I'm like, oh, just one, no shots, none for me. I've taken shots before, but I just know I just don't like them. I have to be in a certain mode for that. Let's see. Okay, well, I'll stay on here for a couple more minutes in case folks have questions. I'm gonna check out my phone real quick because I saw 2 calls come through. I'm like, what is going on? Oh, I see. Someone called me from Instagram. I don't like that. I have to figure out how to turn that off. I don't like when people are just randomly calling you from social media. All right, let me see. Kiki says, I'll put this comment up here. All right, Kiki says Portuguese is easier to understand if you are already a Spanish speaker. Yeah, I've only had exposure to one person that spoke Spanish and Portuguese. He might have spoken another language too, but I can read it probably better than I can understand. I think it's the accent that gets to me. Same with Italian. Like there's a lot of commonalities, but and I'm also within Spanish speakers, the hardest group of people for me to understand is whenever I talk to people from the Dominican Republic. So any Dominican speakers, I struggle with them. And I think it's only because they don't pronounce their S's. So they'd be like, fiesta instead of fiesta. I don't know. I think that's a part of it. But yeah, I could probably see that. I think Portuguese would probably be easier than Italian. I agree with you, Kiki. Now, Kiki, what languages do you speak? Because there are companies that have, operations in, like, for example, Brazil. Nestle is a big one, or Nestle is a big one. And I know that at one point, I was looking for someone for our supply chain and logistics team that ideally was able to speak Portuguese, or, we also were looking for French for Canada. And so, we have these different markets, and sometimes we're really looking for people that have not only the niche skill that we're looking for, but then also have this, specific skill with the language. So that could be a place to look. I think for you definitely want to look at really large global firms. That's where the language will really, like, knowing a different language will help you and really stand out, in my personal opinion, for you, along with the translation services. So we'd love to kind of hear more about your background and the languages that you speak and the type of jobs that you're looking for, Kiki. Paolindo is laughing. Oh, garota. What? See, I would have known that. Someone said that to me, I would have been like, what in the world? What are you saying? Ciao Bella. I know Ciao Bella. I know that one. Yes. Do I have Dominican roots? I do not. I don't believe so, at least. My family has been here in the US. I have not even been to the Dominican Republic, but I would like to. A friend of mine, we were actually planning to go to the Bahamas. I can't even say Bahamas. But we were planning that this year, and then, the cough happened, and so much for that. Maybe next year. Part of me kind of wishes I had just kept the plan, and just went anyway. Let's see, I'm learning English, Spanish, French. Wow, I don't know what Lingala is. What is Lingala, Paolindo? Oh, patois. Oh, yeah. Nice. Look at you. All these talented folks in the chat. It is very hard to learn languages, but I do feel like once you have one, it can be a little easier. That's really good, Paolindo. Awesome. You can teach everybody. We can just have, when are you gonna make a live for us? You can have whole entire Spanish and French lessons. People would love that. So Kiki speaks Spanish. Portuguese isn't as good as Spanish. Okay. Have a group called Melanated Months. Oh, okay. Where's your group at? Is it online, or is it like an in-person like group of people? That is very cool. Oh, wait, Kiki, you thought I was Caribbean? Well, that's nice. I would love to think of myself as Caribbean. I'd love to be at the Caribbean right now, to be honest with you. That sounds amazing. Let's see, I'm looking at some of the chat here as we're talking. Lingala is a Bantu language from the Congo. Okay. Okay, good. I'm getting educated. I'm learning here, guys. Okay, your group is on Facebook. I'm not gonna write that down like I'm gonna remember. I'm gonna take a picture of this. I'm really bad. So when I have to take notes, I just I would take a picture. Because then I remember. I can make sure I have the note. I used to do that in school too. Like, you know how the teachers would have the slides up or whatever, and you're jotting down notes. Like at some point of college, I would just be like, I'm not dealing with this. I would just be like, I start taking snapshots so that way I can have it later instead of like I can know exactly what's up there. I even do that at work now. Like if I see a PowerPoint with some good information and I know I'm going to need it later, I just do a screenshot and then I save it on my computer. Just way easier. I don't know why. Sometimes I even try to just jot down notes. I will say it typically helps me remember things a little easier. And this is something I tell job seekers, and Kiki, as you start looking at some of my videos, I will probably have mentioned this, but I always recommend writing notes and sometimes writing the question that you get during an interview, because it helps you remember it. So if someone's asking you this question and you start talking and you're telling this specific story to answer your question, sometimes I find people kind of drift away from that. And then if you write it down, you can go, oh, this is the question. I need to bring it back. Like, okay, we're reeling it back in. So sometimes that helps. So just a quick tip, but again, you'll see that as you look at some of the videos. Okay, so Paolindo is continuing our language lesson here. Jazzy says, the Caribbean is so beautiful. Oh my gosh. I just want to be there. I don't want to be in Dallas right now. I want to be somewhere just nice and tropical. Holando says, I love cultural exchanges. I think that you can break barriers if you can speak with people of other cultures. Yes, that's very true. Very true. I think that's a lot of what's wrong with our world. Like when you think of the world was combined at one point, then we broke apart, and just there's all these different things that are different about us, but all the basics are still the same, like at a base level and human level. I know I'm getting way off topic, but we're chit chatting. You guys know how these lives go. Once I get part of my point done, I'm ready to chat. But once you look at the basics of just us being human, we're so similar. Like every culture has, a specific language. They have specific rules that connect each other and set, standards as far as what's good and what's wrong. There's just so much that we should be focusing on that unites us. So let's see. Linda's talking to Jazzy. In Lingala, if you want to say hello, you can say Mbote. Wait a minute. I'm probably butchering that. Mbote? Nazali Paolindo, Nawuti na Italian. Okay, so I'm 32 years old. Oh, okay, that's what you're saying. Okay, Nazali Paolindo. Nazali Paolindo. I'm Paolindo. I'm from Italy. Nawuti na Italy. I'm probably butchering this. You can let me know, Paolindo, in the chat if it sounds terrible. Kambo na nga tuku misato namibala. 32 years old. Okay, cool, Paolindo. Paolindo's probably laughing at me because I'm probably messing all of that up. Hey, I only stick to the one language. I would love to learn French as well. And Arabic is also very interesting to me. So, Tuku Masato Namabali is 32 in Lingala. Oh, cool. Very, very cool. All right. Well, Kiki Karima says, what is Billy? I don't know what that is. Kiki, you and Paolindo, you guys can literally make a show together. You guys can make like a language specific show, like learn Swahili with Kiki. You guys should do that. Or Paolindo Italian class or something. Learn Italiano at Paolindo. I am seeing it. You guys should create that. The funny thing is that my skin is so clear, almost transparent, and I have blue eyes. Yeah, you know what? I was actually a little surprised. So the first Italian I met when I was in Europe, I was actually in Spain, and he had like blonde hair, blue eyes. So, which I didn't expect. Like, I didn't actually believe him when he said he was Italian, because the image in my mind was, Italian. And normally we're looking at Italian men. Like, I guess I didn't even put any thought to Italian women, but you have the image of the guy with maybe slightly tan skin, or just clear skin, whatever, but with dark hair and with dark eyes. So I was really surprised. But I guess if you think about it, I mean, people come in different looks. Like, even when you think about Caribbean or African people, like we have a lot of diversity, but people don't really see that. Like, there's so many different curl patterns with our hair and our eye color. Excuse me. I know this girl, her name is Sydney B or something. I don't think I've subscribed to her, but I noticed her because she had naturally blue eyes, and her skin color is probably about the same as mine. And people continually say, like, oh, those have to be fake. But it's like, no, I mean, science says African women created everyone else. So, I mean, I would imagine we would be able to have every single color, every skin tone, every curl pattern, everything else. So, so yeah, it's so interesting. But we have like through the media and TV and everything else, these specific visions of what people should look like, and so it's very hard to deviate away from that. Anyway, I could talk about that in another video. Kiki is learning Arabic. Hey, look at you. Yes. There is modern standard Arabic, and then there is Laga dialects. Interesting. I didn't know that. Okay. You're like, okay, so you are learning, so you're speaking Spanish. You can speak Brazilian Portuguese, it sounds like. And then you're learning Arabic. What else are you learning? That's pretty cool. Kiki says, we do see dark-haired Italians and brown eyes and else. Yeah. And Kiki, are you in the Caribbean or where are you from? Where are you located? Because Paolindo is in Italy. Paolindo. Yeah, in Italy, we are so mixed. People think that Italians are big black mustache, curly hair, they have dark. Yeah, so Paolindo, okay, so the difference I did see is when I went to Italy, I was with girlfriends and we just took a trip through Holy Week and we just did like the route from Milan to, I think next we did maybe Venice or Florence, and then we did Naples, and then we went to Rome and Vatican City for Easter. Now, when we would tell folks like, "Hey, yeah, we're going to Naples," I kid you not, guys, people would just be like, "Oh, but you're nice girls. What are you going to Naples for?" And I was like, isn't Naples nice? Because we had done research and there were specific things we went to see while we went to Naples, and they were like, no, you don't want to go there. But we had our plan. We had this plan. We're going to Naples. We don't care what you're saying. We're going. So we went to Naples, and that is where we saw the demographics shift. So we saw more of the like dark hair, dark eyes, tan skin. We saw more of that. So I think that's more, the Sicilian, we think more Sicilian. And then even the features are a little different, like the nose shape and different things like that. So I really feel like that's really what, in America, our image of Italian is Southern Italy versus Northern Italy. And so I definitely agree. There's a lot of different looks when it comes to Italy. I was actually surprised at the amount of, Black people that I did see in Italy. I don't know why I was surprised this time, but there were a lot of different people there. So it was pretty cool. Yes, Kiki, Sydney Black. She has a genetic effect that causes deafness in one ear and blue eyes, and her mom has one blue eye. Yes, I did see her mom has one blue eye as well. I didn't know she, I guess, partially is deaf in one ear, I guess. I used to be able to sign, ASL, American Sign Language. Now I can't so much. I think I can still say my name, maybe. My name is Jessica, but it's really slow. Like normally when my former teacher, she would finger spell, it would just be like it would be so fast. So I'm not as great at it anymore. Oh, hi, Peter Dell. Welcome. Hello. Yeah, we're just kind of chit-chatting in here, Peter. I did share some resume tips earlier on the video. So typically with my lives, I just kind of, I get my points out, and then wherever the conversation takes us later, I just move on with that. So we're just having a little chit chat now. So happy to see you. I hope things are well in Australia. Happy Sunday to you. Let's see. Oh, okay. Okay. So Kiki, you're in the US. Cool. Very cool. Let's see. Swahili, I can say mambo. Mambo. Da, 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 da. I don't know if that's really the song. Naples is fantastic. People wonderful there. Yeah, Naples was nice. People were very nice. I unfortunately became sick. Like I had stomach issues when I was there, and I just needed to rest a lot of the time when I was there. But my two girlfriends, I was so sad. They actually apparently met the hottest guy. They were lost somewhere, and I don't know why they did this. Probably wasn't the smartest thing to do. But this guy offered them a ride back to the hotel we were at. And so, I mean, thank goodness they weren't kidnapped or anything like that. But apparently, he like was this beautiful specimen of a man, and he had a nice car and everything. And so, yeah, he like rescued them and brought them back. And I think like it was so weird. Like our hotel, like there was a party that night, I remember. So I did come down for the party for a little bit, and I went back to my room, I guess. I don't know. I was a downer because I wasn't feeling so well. But I think he was going to come back or something. So I don't remember if that ever happened. Anyway, apparently there are some beautiful men in Italy, and I have seen them. So I'm like giving my thumbs up of approval. There are a lot of Afro-Italians in Naples. Cool. Very cool. And Peter, I see your comment about the good vibes. Yes. Very good vibes. Happy Sunday. Welcome. Let's see. Oh, Kiki, you know how to sign as well. Hey. Yeah, I stopped too. And it's like with language, you have to keep going. And what for me, I was learning how to sign so that we could help people at the time at the church I was attending. And this was years ago. Well, I guess 3 years ago. Yeah, 3 or 4 years ago. I can't remember. Anyway, there was a specific ministry, the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Ministries, and I was always interested to, understand like how many people in the church had, were hard of hearing and how did they actually connect with them. And so reached out to this lady and she decided to teach me. And so we started that. And so that way I could be brought into the community. Oh my gosh, the nicest folks. And every time I think of just that type of, impairment and going out into the world, and I've come across folks that were either deaf or hard of hearing. And it's just so hard because everyday people don't know any ASL. And so even when you think of like a Spanish speaker in school, typically, folks learn like at least a little basic, hola, ¿cómo está? A little something, something. But with ASL, we don't like before that class, I didn't know anything other than I think milk because of one of my friends like babies like son was learning sign language. But yeah, it is tough. It is tough, but I'm glad I learned it. I think I will try it later. Oh, hey, I missed you. Hi, Bree. Welcome. And I've been telling folks as they joined, I did share some resume tips earlier. So if you know of anyone that would like resume tips, definitely share this with them. Just let them know all the stuff is in the beginning and I have my chit chat at the end. So we're just talking in here. So happy to see you. I hope you're having a good Sunday and welcome. Let me see. Yes, I agree, Paolo. Yeah, just seeing the world is wonderful. It's so tough that we're in this place where it's difficult to travel, but yeah, I agree. Oh, good. I'm so glad that was helpful, Peter. So Peter said he saw my review about big companies that were hiring and loved it. Well, good. You know what? That's actually, Peter, I appreciate that so much because it is motivating. Because sometimes, as someone that puts out content, I am wondering and I question whether the content is helpful for folks or if I need to change things. So if you have suggestions for me, please do share them. Any way I can make it better or easier for sharing that type of information. But I'm so glad it was useful. That it's brightening up my day even more. 10:17. I'm here in Australia. Oh, it's 10. Oh, it's very late there, or is it? Oh, early. Okay, so it's early in the morning there. Monday, the next day. All right. Well, have a great day, Peter. Hope your Monday is going well. Mondays can be tough sometimes, but I hope you are making the most of it. And hopefully things are going well there in Australia. I know here folks have been celebrating the election. I think a lot of people are happy that the election here in the U.S. is over, but definitely celebrating that this weekend. So I went out to this area of Dallas, and there was it's like this restaurant. They had music, but it kind of felt like New Orleans. I shared it on my personal Instagram, but they had like this guy with what is it? It's not a saxophone, tuba, maybe? I think it was tuba. Anyway, he's going at it. People are dancing in the street, like having a good old time. I'm just like, wait a minute, are we still social distancing? What's going on? Oh, Lindo also knows sign, a little bit of sign, but oh yeah. The signing is a little different. Like there's American Sign Language and there's other types of sign language, so it is different. And even in different parts of the country, there's some deviations away from sign language. Like, and things are so close. I remember a little mini story time. I was in my group. We were for our homework. We needed to sign something in the Bible, and we had to share with the group. So had to figure out how to sign it. And I did something, and it was so close to, I want to say it was a ward or something. And I did something different. And then what was the other thing I was trying to say? Anyway, it's very easy. It's very easy to say something inappropriate when you're signing. So you have to be really careful. It is tough because sometimes just like a slight difference is like kind of like the hello or not hello, thank you. And then the other one. So it's like, thank you. But it's like so miniature. And I don't even know if I'm completely doing it right, but it's tough. Let me see. Oh, hello. Welcome. How are you? I think you are a new subscriber. Happy to see you here. So I will tell you, and I don't know if I'm going to butcher your name or not, but Wajid, I will tell you that the majority of the resume tips are at the very beginning of the video. So if you are looking for resume tips, please do replay the video. It's very likely this replay will be posted onto YouTube tomorrow as like a normal video, but you may still be able to like rewind it and watch the beginning. But I do share some resume tips in there. So just wanted to share that. How I do my lives is I will talk about the content and then we'll chit chat at the end. Cool. And it is going well. We are having a fun Sunday chit chat. Hello, Web Savvy. Welcome. How are you? And I know Web Savvy is another content creator out here. So definitely check out her channel. Let's see. Okay, good, Wajid. That works for me. Good. Yeah, it's you'll notice that all of my lives, like I feel like the tips or the job tips that I provide are probably in the first 30 to 40 minutes. So thank you. I appreciate you joining us. Breview says she always wanted to learn ASL. Taught myself a little, but don't follow through. It's a challenge. It's really hard to like learn a language just in general, but like with ASL, I think the hardest part of ASL for me is the fact that a lot of times you can't just be very literal with what you're trying to say, especially when it came to topics of the church. Like there's a common thing that we'll say with Christian church of you have to be born again. And it's like, how do you sign that? Like you physically need to be born again. Like you can't physically literally say that. So you have to kind of think of, okay, so you need to be saved. You need to be saved by Jesus Christ is what we're trying to say. So how do you say that? I don't know. And there's so many different like phrases that we use in general that are just like, what? And so you have to get into the context. But if someone's talking, how do you do that so quickly to go, okay, this is what we mean? It's challenging, but it is rewarding to learn it. Oh, Ajid, okay. Started watching you from a previous video where you talked about getting laid off. Sorry to hear that. Yes, Wajid. So I talked about that in my last live video. I was laid off last year. So I was laid off last year, and I share how I was able to, well, one, just the fact that that is a terrible experience for anyone. It's really hard to get through a layoff because it's just like, it's kind of like a slap in the face. It's like someone is telling you that this big chunk of your life, because we spend a lot of time working, and for a lot of people that's what gives you a lot of purpose and obviously your income source, for a lot of people, unless you have like a business on the side. And so it's like someone telling you like, okay, we're taking this away from you, you're gone, goodbye. So it was really hard to get through, but I wanted to share it right now because although I know last year was a different type of environment and economy, it was tough, but I was able to get, a new job within a month. So I was laid off in 2019, in January 2019, and I had to take some time for myself. And then I did a few things, like I strategized on what I needed to do each week to get a job. And so there's some tidbits that I provide in that video for if anyone, is going through either being laid off or going through the job search. Definitely check out that video or share it to others. And thank you, Web Savvy. I appreciate that. Definitely share because, I was able to land a job in February and start the job in March. So, it can be done. There are still companies hiring. That's a big reason I'm sharing the companies that are hiring, because sometimes you just get demotivated and things like that during the job search. It is a lot of work. So hopefully that will be more of a motivating thing. Like, yes, it happened, but we move on. We look towards the future. Oh, cool. Awesome, Kiki. I will follow you back after the live. Thank you. Easy has a new book. Okay, I'm going to keep Easy up here. I know he's been joining my lives ever since I was still in New York. So he has a new book. I'm going to look it up here real quick. So his new book is The Game Changer. Winning. Well, where is your new book? Oh, okay. Easy. I didn't read the full thing. I thought this was your book that you had written. So this is by The Game Changer, Winning Strategies to Obtain Veterans Disability, Social Security, and Appeals by Jimmy Cave. That is interesting. Because I will say this for folks that are in the chat. Here in the US, I don't think enough people understand their rights as an employee a lot of the time. And so, like, I remember this girl shared with me, she's in the HR field. I think she might have been either a recruiter or HR generalist at the time. And she shared this scenario where two guys were terminated. However, they were not terminated for just cause. I don't remember the cause of the termination, but they did not take the steps that they were required to. Like, I don't think they received a warning. It was just, they were just terminated without any reasoning. And in that particular environment, that was not okay. So there are some definitely companies that are, at will. You and the company can terminate at any time. But then there are also a lot of legalities around, people that are over 40 or people of certain ethnicities or women. And so if there's a case of discrimination or a termination that was not for cause, like you think you were discriminated against in some way, well, a lot of people just don't know how to go about that. So one of the guys, he didn't know. So he went on and, didn't do anything. The other guy, he actually sued the company and won. So that could be, I think any books or any information that can be found out about that is helpful, because there are a lot of cases where, unfortunately, people don't realize maybe the reasoning or don't question it. But this is where, if anyone has like questions about a scenario, or maybe you have a family member, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, they work to make sure that companies are following practices that are non-discriminatory. And when there is, like if there's a workplace discrimination, they are working to enforce. And they have done plenty of lawsuits. I remember I used to be a part of, I used to follow this page, and I would get updates about lawsuits that were happening. So really big company. I think one that comes to mind is Bass Pro Shops. I know they had some cases of employee discrimination. And so, I mean, I think a lot of that needs to be shared, because if there is something going on, it is a headache for the HR folks, I will say. It is a headache, but at the end of the day, I'm a person and I want things to be right. So if companies aren't doing right by their people, then I think they should pay. Like, they need to learn so that they're not constantly doing it again. And so anyway, I'm going off on a tangent about that, but it's important to me. So I want people to know, and I just feel like a lot of people, and the people that actually need to know, that are discriminated against the most, are the ones that don't know what they can do or how they can go about moving forward with potentially a lawsuit, or making sure that companies aren't doing these things again. I think all of my folks in DC, they get it, but outside of DC, it's not really shared. Okay. Told you my phone was going off. Paolindo says, I'm here, don't worry. Oh, well, thank you, Paolindo. No, I am currently working. I do want everyone to know that. I was doing a story time about my layoff experience last year, so I am good to go. But I do think that for that scenario, it was very helpful, because it shifted my thinking to go, oh, companies can snap their fingers and lay off someone at any point. And I knew that from an HR perspective because unfortunately I've had to have some of those conversations in the past. But when it happens to you, it's just very different. You see it in a different lens. So my thinking shifted and my financial situation also shifted because I started saving a lot more. I started building my emergency fund to think, okay, what if X, Y, and Z happens? And so I talked before in another live that I followed Dave Ramsey's like approach to, if you guys know about him, let me know in the comments. But I followed his approach, and he says have $1,000 in an emergency fund. Well, I changed that. I had to shift it for myself because I now think in the lens of, okay, I need multiple streams of income, and I need to have savings for what if this company does X, Y, and Z. Because at the end of the day, employees are, I mean, on to the next, and they can fire this one and move on to someone else. So it's just very eye-opening. I will say that. Oh, thank you, Web Savvy. If you don't, yeah, I think that's a good point. So Web Savvy is saying, like sometimes if you're not in a position where a company has either laid you off or terminated you, something else that's for you, you may not be ready to receive it. If you're just focusing on the job and you're not in a place where you can be open to look at something else, I do think that's important, because one thing that did happen is it gave you time to think and think of other opportunities. So now, from that, I have a side income. I actually learned about a couple of different side hustles. I have a side income where I can use my HR knowledge and get paid to share with other people. So I shared that in another video, but and I'll share it. I shared it in a live video, so you may not see it, but I'll be putting out a short video about this company, but it's called Current, and they do pay for just to understand what you're thinking and for you to answer questions. So it's pretty cool. All right, let me look at these comments because I haven't been seeing them. Let's see. Oh, Lindo, you're so funny. EOCAA original chicken. Original chicken. Oh my goodness. And it's even funny because I don't eat chicken. So I'm like, okay, EOC. You can purchase my book on Amazon. Okay. So Easy, was that your book that I was just putting up there? Or what's the name of your book? I want to make sure I have it. I know you were working on the book, but I don't remember the name. Chicken and corn, and the corn can't grow. What? Easy is so funny. He's playing around. Well, guys, I have been on here for a little bit, so I am going to call it a night soon. But are there any other questions for me at this moment? And just know that I will go live. I do plan on going live every week and having some type of chit chat, an open discussion. So I'll have a few points about, just different things for job seekers to keep in mind. But for this video, I think it is a wrap. And I appreciate everyone for being here. So glad we were able to connect. There's a few of you I haven't seen in a little bit and some newer folks. So I'm happy to have you join. Let me back up. It's a song. Oh, okay. Paolindo was singing a song. You guys are so funny. Okay. Easy said yes. So that was the book that's your book. Well, Easy, let's see. Let me go back up and make sure I share it before I go. So this is Easy's new book, The Game Changer: Winning Strategies to Obtain Veterans Disability, Social Security, and Appeals. Again, you guys know I take pictures instead of notes. Okay, great. So I'm going to leave that up for a minute, and then I'm going to change over to, wow, I'm looking for it. We had a lot of messages in the chat. I appreciate it. Let's see. What am I looking? Okay, here we go. I'm gonna have this one up here because that's how I want it to end, with that really nice note from Real Brother earlier. So that's all I got for this video, guys and friends. Thank you for watching. And if you are looking for job-related content, if you know someone that is looking for a job, even if you think they're good with their search, they may not be, and most likely they aren't. Like, even for myself and other recruiters, I have another person look at my resume if I'm on the job search. Share the information with them, do them a favor. They can take it or leave it, but definitely share with them. And I hope you enjoyed the live. I definitely enjoyed all of you guys and chatting and catching up with all of you and some of the funny comments, especially from Paolindo. And I will see you in the next live video or on one of my pre-recorded videos. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up before you leave, and I will see you next time. Happy Sunday. Bye.